Welcome back to a brand new episode of Blaze and BESKAR. I am your host, Jeremy Bloor, and today I am in my car park. I wasn't really expecting to be here right now, but you can't see behind me, but it's raining like a motherfucker. So I just thought, hey, you know what? I'll show you guys my bike at the same time. I've got my Darth Maul. I just wanted to show you here. I've also got a Mandalorian Orbit key. They're really good keys. They're really good keychains. Doesn't matter. I made a video probably like 2-3 weeks ago, basically talking about the Force versus the One Ring, which would win in their respective universes, which is more powerful. And it kind of, like, that idea really held with me. And I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a part 2 video today. Not an intentional part 2. You don't need to watch the previous one, but this is kind of along the same idea. I wanted to talk about the origins of evil in the respective universes, but main focus on two people. We're going to talk about Palpatine versus Lord Sauron. Okay, so I've broken this down into 6 different points, and then I'm going to talk about like a question side beyond that. For most of you who have seen this channel, this playlist on my channel, it is a fascination with Lord of the Rings. I'm obsessed with learning more. I want more lore all the time. That's why they call me Lore Blore. I'm really, really fascinated with the Lord of the Rings universe, and I want to learn with you. The best part about this series is it's a collaborative series. I want to learn with you. Teach me as much as I want to teach you. If I get anything wrong, let me know down below. If you have any ideas that you want to just contribute, you know, maybe it's a don't sit on the back of a peg. If you have any ideas that you want to contribute, let me know. Let me know down below. At 100%, I'd love to break down videos. Even potentially in the future, I didn't mean to hit that. I want to do some videos with you guys, especially with this series. You know, I want to, this is for you just as much as it is for me. So let's talk about the first point, which is the origins of evil. Now, I've written down every single point here. I'm going to go through every one of the 6 points, and then we're going to go into the discussion after. So excuse me for reading off my book a little bit. So let's talk about the origins of evil. Sauron, a fallen Maiar spirit who initially served Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. Sauron was seduced by the promise of order and control, ultimately becoming the embodiment of tyranny and domination in Middle-earth. His evil is ancient, cosmic, and deeply tied to the corruption of power. Now let's skip to Palpatine. Originally a charismatic senator from Naboo, Palpatine's descent into the dark side is driven by ambition, manipulation, and hunger for absolute control. Unlike Sauron, he starts as a mortal man who rises through cunning and deceit. Very, very distinct differences with the two. Now, you can go a little deeper into that with the ancient spirit and so on, but the inherent nature of it is one of them has been around for the sands of time, and the other is just a regular man, which in a way can be a little bit more evil. You spend your whole lifetime choosing to be evil. In the short window of time, you want to ruin time for the rest. Whereas the slower descent into evil can be kind of seen as a manipulation of others, or by others, not of yourself. Kind of interesting. So let's talk about the motivations. Sauron. Sauron's goal is total domination of Middle-earth. He seeks to enslave all free peoples by bending their wills to his own through the power of the One Ring. This evil is almost abstractless, about personal gain and less about personal gain and more about universal subjugation. So Sauron himself, he kind of has, it's a little bit of a corrupted idea, but it is about peace. I'm not trying to paint him as a good guy here, but Sauron's idea is through complete control there will be peace, because he sees the darkness of his master, or his teacher, Morgoth, and the destruction and devastation that someone like that can bring to Middle-earth. So the way he looks at it is, with complete power comes complete peace, which, as we kind of see down the track, it doesn't work like that. Palpatine. Palpatine is motivated by personal power. He doesn't seek control, but also revels in the suffering and corruption of others. His rise to power is a means of indulging his sadistic desires. It's another one on what we were talking about before. It was kind of that, like, is it wrong, or is it more evil to go down a darker path for your short time span of your life? Now, we know Palpatine lives for a lot longer through the Force, but inherently in himself, compared to Sauron, he's not going to be alive for anywhere near the time. Sauron really is immortal. From the start of time until the end of time, his soul will slowly float around, wandering aimless. So let's go into number 3, methods of control. So Sauron, he created the One Ring as the ultimate tool of domination, embedding part of his own essence into it to exert control over other beings. His influence is subtle, speeding corruption, fear, and despair across spreading corruption, fear, and despair across Middle-earth, even when he lacks a physical form. Now, you see in Rings of Power beyond. Okay, don't just get angry at me for it, because I know a lot of people don't like Rings of Power. I personally love it. But in Rings of Power, it gives a more visual approach to what that is talking about, right? So his spirit floating around. I told you before he was immortal. Think about it like the black blob that Sauron was. So, like, it could stay dormant for hundreds of years, slowly moving and absorbing the power and life of different creatures, be that bugs, until he reaches the power of his previous self. He kind of changes. Sauron was known as a man of many names. We see him transition into one of his more popular names, Anatar. He is he's posing as a Valar, you know what I mean? So that's why Celebrimbor was like, oh my god, he's so incredible. Like, yes, we have to accept this. Like, this is the gods. This is a literal god speaking to me in order to create this. This is divine creation to him. It's kind of like if God knocked on your doorstep and was like, hey brother, can you just do this for me? That's the way. That's the way he's seen. So Sauron he can go through many names, many different faces. He can adjust because his spirit is who he is. It's the same thing with Saruman and Gandalf and all that kind of stuff. When Gandalf goes from Gandalf Grey to Gandalf the White, it's a change of his spirit. He doesn't change his physical form because his physical form is still intact. But it's an interesting thought. Much like Saruman, now that's Christopher Lee for the people who are confused about the way I pronounce things. Saruman, he actually has been seen to float, his spirit floating for eternity. It could not reach any land of the gods. No Valar is touching his corrupted spirit because he chose to be corrupt in his time on Middle-earth. That's a very, very deep rabbit hole I could go down. But methods of control, back to Palpatine. Palpatine uses the dark side of the Force, manipulation, and political cunning to consolidate power. He orchestrates both sides of the Clone Wars to destabilize the galaxy, creating chaos to seize control as the Emperor. Now, it's kind of a genius way to do it. When you see Palpatine at the start, you're like, wow, what a guy. You never thought. I remember watching the prequel trilogy before the original trilogy and going, man, what a good guy. What a good dude. This guy, he's the best. He loves Anakin. He's like a father. He manipulates you even by watching him on the screen. Really, really cool way to do it. I think a true sense of a villain is when they can appear approachable, relatable. All of these different aspects to make you feel closer to the character. And then it just completely turns on you and you realize that you've just been played like a fiddle. Palpatine using the Clone Wars to further his own ambition whilst also creating a deeper connection with the Jedi was an ingenious way. I think personally Palpatine has a much more cunning and deceptive, manipulative evil than Sauron was. I think Sauron, he wanted... the goodness of his own heart. He really did want peace for all of Middle Earth. In his own corrupted way, he thought that with tyranny, he could run like any corrupt dictator. He thought that he could run it better than anyone. That it would function far superior to any way that it was running now. The free will of the people. Pish posh, pish posh. It's like the way he sees it is through power. So deception compared to power. But deception is a very strong form of power. I think honestly, at this point of time, I think Palpatine is a far superior villain. So let's go the symbols of evil, because everybody knows that the idea of being evil has to hold that symbol. So let's talk about Sauron. His eye is an omnipresent force, symbolizing unrelenting surveillance and oppression. His armies of orcs, the Nazgul, and corrupt men serve as manifestations of his will. Now, the corrupt men, I feel like, is the most interesting part of that. Orcs, obviously, it's seemingly easy to manipulate orcs. They're basically just a bastardized tribe of elves, and they can be easily corrupted by the most powerful person. Kind of like minions, banana! Minions, they go to the next villain, next biggest villain, every time. Big villain, oh, we'll go here. Bigger villain, oh, we'll go here. Very much the same with the orcs. The Nazgul, yes, they're very cool. I believe, now this is the point that you correct me if I'm wrong, the Nazgul are the men of power. They've been given the 9 rings of power, and they go out, and once using it, they get completely corrupted. They turn into this wraith. Could be wrong, could be very wrong. I hope I'm thinking about the right one. When I thought of the Nazgul, that's the ones that I'm thinking of. And then we'll talk about the idea of the manifestations of his will. So the corrupt men, he's giving them what he seeks, complete power. But that complete power is at a lack of their own freedom, to which they do not understand. They do not understand that when giving Sauron their life, they are losing their life. They don't just receive this divine power. Yes, they can live forever as long as the ring is manifested. But that's as long as that evil can live. And with evil rising, good will rise to match it. So, that manifestation of his will is such a beautiful idea of that symbol of evil. The one ring being complete corruption, having a will of its own. That's I think that is a far superior symbol than any other franchise in the world, like anything that's ever existed. I think the One Ring is such a beautiful representation of evil incarnate. So let's go on to Palpatine. The Death Star is the ultimate expression of Palpatine's evil, a weapon of mass destruction designed to terrorize and obliterate. His Sith apprentices are extensions of this power. Now, I think the Sith apprentices being, Dooku, Vader, and Maul, not in that order, but, his Sith apprentices are very interesting ideas of his extension. I don't necessarily think they're as important as the manipulation of men. I think that with the Sith, you just seek power incarnate. You wish to control all. They are all individuals deciding to work together until the time is right, and then they will strike down their master. So Palpatine, I will separate him from that extension just for now as this symbol. I think that Death Star is the perfect expression of Palpatine's evil. The complete power to destroy planets within seconds is a devastating, destructive force that is pure evil incarnate. Now, I don't think that it is as important and as symbolic as the One Ring. I think definitely Sauron has his win there for that the One Ring and the one win. For that one win that he gets so far. Like we're down to 4, and it's 3-1 right now. To be fair, it's 3-1. Like, Palpatine has Sauron beat in every possible way here, except for this. That symbolism is what held him in such a high regard, what gave him so much power. It's a really cool concept. Really, really cool concept. So let's go. I'm gonna pick up my book. I don't know why I let go of that. So let's go into their downfalls. Arguably the most important part of anything and anyone evil is their inevitable downfall. Either way, evil always loses. And it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of sad for common storytelling. Like, it's so fine to be like, oh, well, the good guy lost this time, but they always come around. You know what I mean? I think there is a benefit to evil winning. But in these stories, we know they don't. Their downfalls. Sauron. Sauron's undoing is tied to his arrogance and reliance on the One Ring. This failure to anticipate the courage and selflessness of Frodo and Sam leads to his destruction. Now I'm gonna talk about Palpatine before I explain anything, because I feel like these guys are very tied in this one. Palpatine's overconfidence in his ability to manipulate everyone around him ultimately backfires when Vader turns against him to save Luke, fulfilling the prophecy of the Chosen One. Now, the prophecy of the Chosen One isn't as important in this one. I just wanted to add that in because it is important in the saga. Obviously, you could say, well, he didn't really die, but he did balance good and evil for that brief period of time, which is what the prophecy granted. Now, I think very much so. Even on that one, it's going to be a 4 to 2. It's going to be a 4 to 2 because as much as Sauron is such a manipulative, it was a manipulative sign of pure power. Palpatine himself, even with his supreme manipulation, he could not match up anywhere near like the levels of the good. Both of their downfall was their mistrust, was their failure to recognize hope. I know hope is like the biggest thing in Star Wars, but hope is in itself such a turn for evil in any franchise. The hope that all of the Fellowship had in Sam and Frodo was what brought them through. So Frodo, his strength and Sam's unwavering support is the reason for his undoing. Literally their hope, their love and support for each other. And the evil's kind of miscalculation. They miscalculated the strength of the good. And I feel like if you do account for that, if you do understand, hey, look, the good is always going to come back with hope, but it's about striking down that hope, cutting it at its roots and watching it fall. That's where true evil succeeds, and none of which could actually succeed. So let's talk about the last point that I have here, and then we'll go into the questions. Psychological themes, all right? Oh, sorry, not psychological. Physiological themes. So, Sauron. Tolkien's portrayal of Sauron ties to themes of corruption, industrialization, and the loss of free will. His evil reflects a broader commentary on the dangers of power and unchecked ambition. Palpatine. Palpatine's evil is more human, rooted in deception, greed, and his hubris. His character explores how democracy can fall to tyranny when people trade freedom for security. That freedom for trading freedom for security is, I think, one of the most important parts of any story. It's both of those have such great commentaries on our regular life, the way we interact with life. It's the fall of evil to hope, like I was talking about before, but it's that unchecked ambition for good and bad. It's so easy. I'll bring up that Count Dooku quote every single time. Live alongside corruption, and you no longer noticed its stench. It's such a beautiful understanding of our universe. It's of not underestimating people. It's allowing people to thrive in their given environment. It's understanding your position and where you will lie, your downfall, your inevitable downfall. No one is on top for too long. They say there's nothing stronger than a wolf climbing to the top of the hill. But there is a strength in the wolf at the top of the hill, biting down at the people around him. If with a true defense at the top of your game, you will be able to sustain for vast periods of time. But there will be a weak link in your chain, and a chain is, as everyone knows, only as strong as its weakest link. So let's talk about the discussion points. Now, what I want with these ones is you guys tell me down below. Tell me down below what you think. Go into the comment section. Let me know. Really interested to see what you guys think. So, which portrayal of evil feels more relatable or terrifying? For me, personally, I feel like Palpatine's is a lot more terrifying. Relatable, but mainly terrifying. The idea that the ones that you love the most, that support you the most, can turn against you. Now, I'm talking about the specifics with Palpatine and Anakin. But, you know, Anakin falling by trusting Palpatine is such a terrifying thing. You know, a lot of people might have in their own life a bad family situation, a close friend that screws them over, and they can relate heavily. But it's the most terrifying idea that the person that you're putting the most amount of trust into will just turn on you. I think Palpatine's definitely got that one in the bag. Does Sauron's lack of physical presence make him more mythic, or does it reduce his complexity? I think it makes him more mythic. Now, I know a lot of you down below will probably say, yes, it reduces his complexity because, you know, you can't have that physical character all the time. And you know, Sauron in the Rings of Power is a great physical force because of his physical presence. He really is. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a terrifying being in that show for that reason. But I do think that it's necessary. I feel like for the longevity of a character, you need to be more mythic. And I feel like that when he lacks that physical presence, you can be around for a lot longer. Think about folklores, all these kind of tales of everything, lasting fear between so many people across a land that is divided. It's such a great way to be a villain. Second last one. How do their respective... I said minors, but I meant minions. How do their respective minions reflect the philosophies of their masters? Now, I think I'm going to leave this one mainly to you guys because I think this is a really cool way to kind of gauge how you feel about each of the villains and how I've put them in this episode. But for me, I feel like the Sith, it's not a very... I don't think it reflects Palpatine very well. I think they're too much of an individual. Definitely the orcs with the sheer numbers and fear. We've got the corrupted men and also the Nazgul. Like, it's such... I feel like that is so much more reflective of what their master's will is. It's that complete domination, that overwhelming force, with the sheer amount of orcs and men charging against the light of the elves and you know, elves, dwarves, and better men, I guess. Yeah, so let me know down below. Last one. In terms of legacy, which villain has a greater impact on their respective universe? I guess, look, a true sign of a great villain is their lasting impact. And that's one thing that I really wanted to put in there, which is like one of the biggest questions that I wanted to ask today. Who do you think left a lasting impact on their respective universes? Now, for me, Sauron, he's forgettable. He really is. Like, that physicality that he has for so long is so terrifying and so rewarding for him. But it's not lasting. People forget. Like, people forgot Morgoth, who was twice as powerful as Sauron. He is forgettable because he is mythic. If he stays around for as long as he can, that's when he makes more of an impact. But I think Palpatine takes it. I think Palpatine takes the cake because he reshaped the whole universe. He changed people's ideas on the galaxy. He allowed people to sacrifice their freedom for security. And that stays with you for the rest of your life. He enforced tyranny on planets in complete fear that they would be destroyed, like Alderaan. I think for me personally, Palpatine definitely he's an outlier with that, and for me he's won. He's won this argument. I think with the whole thing. I think out of the 6 points, yeah, 4-2. I think Palpatine has definitely won. I think being a menacingly manipulative and tyrannical leader is such an important part of being a villain that he takes the cake. I feel like for that short window of time that he has life, he uses it for far more evil than Sauron ever could. Sauron's basically like an abused kid who turns into a bully. You know, they're forgotten afterwards. And they wreak havoc in the time that they're there, but there's nothing that you can't move on and get stronger from, you know? Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Oh, fuck! Jesus Christ. I hope you enjoyed. I really did. I hope you enjoyed my bike. His name is Indiana. I love it. I love my bike so much. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you guys around. Please let me know down below what you guys think. Let me know about the discussion points. Did I get anything wrong? Did I get too many things right? Let me know. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for all of your amazing comments for so long. I apologize for this being late. I've had so much shit going on. Like, actually so much shit. I've had job interviews. I had a fucking nail in the tire of this bad boy. Not fun, a lot of money, not good, don't appreciate it. But, you know, fingers crossed the job interview goes well. Like, I mean, I hope it went well. I think it went well. I'll let you know later because I don't want to jinx it, you know what I mean? But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for enjoying and watching, and I love you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, bitches.